Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tag Talk. This is episode, I believe, 12. I'm reliably informed. And in this episode, we'll be discussing the latest Nerf game that was just been held by myself and my two colleagues, which aren't here. Anarchy 2 at an Airsoft arena that we have been allowed to take over a couple of times to run Nerf events. With me is Boneheed and BGUK, and of course the host David.
So yes, welcome everybody to this particular show. Been looking forward to getting you back on to discuss Anarchy 2. Once again, the wife conspired against me, so I wasn't able to get to it, but I do believe Boneheed did record some footage for us there, okay, which hopefully we can try and get from him and try and maybe integrate the parts into it. So, you know, there might be some more footage in this than there has been on previous shows there. So
just
why don't
full
we...
disclaimer before we move on there. I haven't checked the footage yet, and I think my GoPro reset itself, so it may be very dark.
You'll get some of it okay, the rest
hopefully.
Not.
I'm hoping we'll get something that I do want to mention that comes up in one of the later topics.
I mean,
but,
why break the habit of a lifetime with you? And, you know...
It was pointing forward all the time. It just wasn't always able to capture anything.
And then you smacked your head.
That's true. I did take a blow to the head, but yeah. I'm fine.
So that's like four events now that you've managed. You're getting as bad with your head impacts as I am with falling, mate.
I've only banged my head twice, and one time the GoPro took the brunt of it.
Right. Anyway, before we get massively off topic as per usual for us, Darren, would you be so kind as to give us an overview of Anarchy 2, please?
Right. Okay. Last weekend, the Saturday, the
29th,
28th, 29th, we held Anarchy 2. We revisited Anarchy Airsoft for another go. We had feedback from the players that attended Anarchy 1, and we fed that back to the owners. They've brilliantly took all that on board and made a few tweaks. So we were excited to see and interested to see what changes they had made for Anarchy 2. This particular game day was a lowered FPS of 130 because we'd opened it up to 14 and overs, with a slight caveat that anybody under 16 had to be accompanied by a playing adult. So yeah, the FPS was lowered down to 130, and I believe, for the best part, fun was had by all.
Excellent, good. Yeah, the lowered FPS thing at 130 there. So briefly then, as a quick addition to the running order for the show, what did you take? Now, Adam, can you keep the conversation under 5 minutes for this one? Okay? Because I know what you're like. Okay? What did you all take on the principle of 130 then as your cap?
I only took 4 or 5 things. So I took the free runner, which is a semi-auto pistol with an amazing trigger pull. Anyone who picks it up and fires it goes, ooh. That was my primary for most of the event. I took a Protean with a 130 cage, which worked really nicely. I took my Unicorn, but only used it for one round because essentially by the time I was using that, I was using pulled darts picked up off the floor, so it wasn't feeding very well. So it wasn't worth using. I took my Dart Zone Mark II, which was its first run out. I have a BGUK on it and a priming hook, so it makes it much easier. That served me amazingly well in the one in, one out game until I utterly jammed it somehow getting the darts. Rather than horizontal, I got them in vertical. And I took a quadrant for Awful's round, which we'll discuss later because Awful's was amazing. And the final thing I took was my Hing Yips Sirius 747, which is P90, but the mag comes out in the middle, so it's known as the awkward boner blaster because it looks silly. That is full auto, and I never got to use it, and we'll discuss why later.
Yeah, so I made a bit of a conscious effort to pack lighter for this one, so I took 6 blasters. No, so I figured go long flywheel, a short flywheel, a long spring, a short springer, and then something fun, and then obviously something for the awful. So I got an opportunity to use my Griffin, which I haven't done for a while because that's been pretty much retired by my Protean. But my Protean runs at 1 joule, so it's a little bit too hot. So the Griffin came out. That served me really well for most of the event. I got a Nightingale for the first couple of games, quickly ran out of ammo, and then similar scenario to Adam, it was not reliably feeding with the squish darts. So I ended up using the Griffin for most of the day. I did take, for a couple of the games, and I tested both of them out, a Siren Gnarl, which is the pistol. That jammed every third dart, and when it jammed it good. As in, I had to blow on the end of the barrel to get the dart out. So that didn't go too well. I also took my Siren Mauler, which wouldn't fire at all. So I think I've taken that apart to spray it and put it back together wrong. So it was the Nightingale and the Griffin for most of the event. I did also take a Siren Blink with the intention to use that later on, but didn't get to use that again for reasons that we'll discuss later. The star of the show for me was for the Awfuls round, where I took Hammer! Single shot, it's woeful. It's got dart storage on board, but it lights up and it looks
was
like
effective.
A hammer. And I've since chronoed it and it's hitting about 60 FPS. So it's now banned from the Awfuls round, but it forever holds a place in my heart as an absolutely awesome blaster. So yes, Hammer was the star of the show.
Darren, did the FIB break out any new toys for this particular event there?
Yes, the SPF.
Yes, I had a newly acquired and built SPF, predominantly because I absolutely despairingly hate the idea of taking the FDL apart, reprinting all the bits I need to take it to short and rebuild it. Not because I'm incapable, I'm fully capable of doing it, but it's because obviously it was printed and made by Project FDL. I know for a fact I will not be able to get the colours again. So, because they were colours more specific to them over there. So I won't be able to get them very easily, if at all. So selected to go down buy a new blaster for shorts. So hence the SPF anyway. And I believe Ross had a new one, but I can't.
The Hush 2.
That's the one I was going to say, but I can't.
Which was amazing.
Couldn't remember what it was called. He has since tweaked that and made changes to it. It's got a collapsible stock on it now. And it's literally right behind me.
As usual with Ross, he was lethally accurate and he usually got shot from behind.
He didn't use that. That's the
nice. That's
Hilda Fleur. Both me and Bonehead
one. He's the one that he used for the predominant. I know which one you're on about now, and I don't think.
Yeah, it was the Lidl Dynamic stringer, that he was using. That one. Yes. Yeah. Lethally accurate with it. It's silent. It's hits 130 FPS despite using elastic to fire the darts.
Yeah.
I've got one. It's a lovely little blaster.
Yeah, he's had to reprint a couple of bits because they broke whilst using it. I think. Predominantly, I think a connection with one of the barriers or something was more to blame than through actual usage. But yeah, predominantly used that one. He took that one from just the green one as well, but I don't think he used that a great.
No, he doesn't have a battery for it.
No.
But other than that, I don't think there was anything else new on our side of things.
I was certainly quite interested by the can't pronounce whatever one it was. The one that you held up initially.
Yeah.
The one that's got the sort of north.
Let's just nickname it Jeff.
Yeah. we're going to, for the purpose of the call, Jeff. So yes, the 3D printed color for it is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that green is brilliant. It's
It is,
really
yes.
very vibrant, light, sort of yellowy green.
It is. I mean, it looks slightly yellow underneath the light just now there, but
Yeah.
that is a very vibrant green. I'm sure I can grab one of the pictures from the posts that you've made about it.
Yeah,
It certainly
I think there's
is.
various posts across various discourse. So
How much fun have you had just picking that up and flicking the stock back and then clicking it back forward, Darren?
funnily enough, not
It's
a
a very
great deal,
expensive
literally
fidget toy.
just now, because it's usually in Ross's hands being played with.
It's like a fidget toy.
It's like a fidget
I would
toy,
just be sat there, boing, flick, boing, click.
Obviously, the printing room is the basement, and it's directly below the lounge. And when he had built it and put it together, there was, I could say, a good 10, 15 minutes where all I could hear was zip, click, zip, click. I'm like, I know what he's doing.
You have to embrace the fun side of things there. So on to the games there now. So just working through the running order, what was played first there? Or rather, how many people did we have attending there?
Did we have 12 players to start off
12,
with, including
13,
Ross?
something like that. Ross
It was
Ross had to join in to make the teams balanced at the beginning. We had one cancellation on that day morning, saying he got car trouble and was unable to attend. So yeah, 12.
yeah, so
something like that.
six versus six.
Yeah. So with Ross, it was 12. But actual, excuse me, players coming to attend, we had 11. But obviously made it even with Ross jumping in. To be fair, he's useless running and organising the game, so you might as well just you go play.
We've all got our different skills there, you know.
Yeah.
So game by game, then what was played first?
Well, first we opened things up with a simple retrieval game. We had 5 yellow and orange tags to match the yellow and orange teams. And basically, it was a case of who retrieved all their 5 tags first. We played all together. We played 4 rounds of that. Predominantly again because obviously there's 2 spawns, obviously, right side by side each other. We play one game and then we swap people over and we play another game. So every game is at a minimum in a block of 2 before we change to the next game type. The first 2 games, as per Anarchy 1, were played with the lights on. Again, for new players and obviously the younger players to get accustomed to the place. Because all the barriers and objects in there are black. So, and then the second 2 rounds, we played with the lights off and changed the location of the tags for the second time. Because obviously, if they're under the UV, they lit up like a Christmas tree. But obviously, the UV lights that they have down there are only in certain spots. So instead of people then hunting round for 5 tags in the dark, we elected to basically put them in the same location together, basically side by side, and they had to go retrieve and come back. And it's whoever got their tags first. But the game was basically go and get a tag, bring it back to your base. You can only carry one at a time. If you tag, drop it, the usual sort of game rules. But also we put in there as well, you can pick up an opposition tag. Although you can't take it to your base, you can move it to a different location in the arena. So we played that. That seemed to go well. And yeah, yellow team won the first round. to be fair, apart from one game, yellow team won every single game throughout the entire day. We did, obviously, we'll allude to that as we go further through. We did, after lunch, change things around and swap the teams around and move people around. But yellow team, apart from one game later on, one round of one particular game, yellow team won everything. So even with us trying to move people around and potentially rebalance things, it still made no difference. Yellow team won everything.
The only commonality was I was on yellow team, so it was obviously all me. I carried.
Well, I must admit, we will quickly mention the fact that near the end, near the sort of like the last third of the day, we played our popular tag team. We'll allude into more detail about that later. And basically, a very, very quick synopsis is you select the game organizer tells you how many people can go out. They go out. If they get tagged, they come back, effectively tap on somebody else, and they go out. So you've only got a certain amount of your team out at any one time. And the first round we played of that, I don't think Adam came back.
No, I was on fire.
You were particularly on point on that particular round.
On the pickup,
was there a steward's inquiry afterwards, or
drug tests? Everything.
There was just all of Adam's team shouting at him saying, "I didn't get a go on that for way, way, way too longer than I should because you were out all the entire game." You swear word.
Yeah, but on the first game type, I really enjoyed because obviously I went to Anarchy 1, and I started on the bad side of Anarchy 1. And then I did the next game on the good side, and it was kind of like, oh, yeah, there really is a difference. This time I started on the good side of Anarchy 2. We won. We went to the other side, and I was like, oh, yeah, it is much better now. So in terms of what we changed, there was only a few changes.
Yeah, there were very small changes.
Yeah. So the central crossover point, they'd moved the shark teeth to theirs, so it kind of created a choke point next to the tower, which I found really useful because I could hang back on the left hand, the bad side, and have a nice line of sight for people coming through that cut through. They swapped the tunnel into the tower from the good side to the bad side, which meant you could get into the tower and look out that way or look that way. So it was really good there. Where the shark's teeth was, we'd put a new piece of cover. And in the bar, they'd closed off the bottom pieces of the bar, so you couldn't get shot in the leg. So it was very minor changes, but made a huge difference to how it played. I'd go as far as to say it was one of the most enjoyable venues I've played in, because there is still possibly a little bit of an imbalance, but not much. And I really enjoyed playing on either side in every game. But in terms of a collection game, I was one of those ones who found the orange ones and then moved it. And I put them into the far end of the bar and into the cave under the bar. So they had no chance of finding two of them.
It wouldn't have mattered. We played that entire game, and just as the whistle had gone, Susie came over to me and she was like, "Did you not see that one that's like literally there?" And it was about 3 feet out of the orange spawn point. It was literally like right where I'd been standing. And as we've mentioned before, I just shoot people.
You don't.
So I haven't seen it because I'd spent my entire game doing that. Nothing below sort of 90 degrees to the horizontal, so I'd not seen it at all. But yeah, it wouldn't have made a difference, I don't think.
And I think from team balance point of view, obviously yellow team had Ross, so very fast. We had me, Jason, Al, and Josh and Paige. And Josh is fast at the best of times. Paige seems to be like a ninja, especially later on when she teamed up with Ember. They were super
Yeah.
effective.
You had most of the fast movers as the short.
We had the most
long
fast
short.
movers, whereas your team had the people who don't play objectives.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, team balancing what happened later on. We still won. Yes. But I enjoyed that game type. It was nice and simple. A really good introduction to the venue for the new players. And for the existing players, it was a good way of learning those changes and how they made an impact. So it was a really good starting game.
Well, on to game 2 then, if nothing else.
Game type 2, because obviously we did do
game type
2 lots of the first one. First one with the lights on, and then it's same again, but with the lights off. And then throughout the rest of the day, the game, and then through the rest of the night and day, the lights stayed off. Obviously, at the end of every round, so people could collect darts and that, the lights went back on, but during gameplay, they stayed off. The second game type after that was kill confirmed. Plain simple, as the name suggests, get tagged, go back to the spawn. We had Adam's boxes in the spawns again. Press the button, it counts up lives, back out you go. And we didn't tell them how long we were playing for. Again, we did 2 rounds of that, so each piece got a chance on each side. The first round was 8 minutes long. The second round, we upped that to 10 minutes. But again, like I've said to earlier, apart from one game later, Yellows won both of those rounds. So yeah, that was that one pretty much. Plain simple, kill confirmed, nice and simple. But instead of
permadeath, you went back and hit the counter.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that you were out instantly from being kill confirmed. It was just that affected your team's score of deaths.
Yeah, so you could be revived, but if you were kill confirmed by the enemy team, that's when your kill count went up, and it was who got the least kills at the end.
Mm.
So it was a nice way of doing kill confirmed without being out of action.
Yeah.
Because
I could imagine in a smaller environment, as we've previously discussed there, you could
kill confirmed very quickly.
It's
the idea
that you could be outside of 5 seconds. Oh, I'm out. Okay. So it was a nice balancing to prevent people from feeling I didn't really last that long, and then, but as you said, the games are all fast paced anyway. So even if you were, it was a case of cool, I'm back in less than 5 minutes, Anything else to add to that particular?
No, the first round, again, Yellows won the round, but on the first round, there was only 6 lives between them.
Wasn't much.
The second round, however, Yellows won again, but there was 16 lives between them. I think at that point, Orange team had changed gear, but had waggled the gear stick around in the gearbox and only found reverse.
I think that second game, I definitely experienced more of Ross getting several kills on people and then instantly running in and confirming it, whereas before he'd been a little bit more...
right.
He'd been less ruthless, shall we say. He had more ruth for the first game, and then he just went for it in the second game. And I think the rest of the Yellow team had kind of twigged on with the same. So while we were still playing as we were in the first game, the Yellow team went in for the kill, essentially.
It's worth noting, on the second round, we were in the bad side. So and I actually felt it was probably easier on that side, on that game type. One thing to say for the venue is because it's an old working men's club, it's downstairs is basically a smooth dance floor surface with some carpeted areas, which means you can slide. So I'm hoping there's footage because I was taking full advantage of the sliding. There was a bit where Al was by the tower on one side, Ross was by the tower on the other side, and I was just sliding between them, reviving them.
Yeah, there was also the moment that I'm
Your
pretty sure
ankle, yes.
I got on camera where I came around the corner and Adam tagged me, ran, and slid straight into me to confirm the kill.
On your ankle.
Yeah, and I did say at one point, I'm pretty sure you only did that because I'm filming, right? And I don't know whether that was the case, but if he did, bravo, sir, bravo.
Indeed, yes.
Hopefully I caught that. Hopefully I caught something at all because it was dark, but never mind.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be able to see what we can do with the footage there. Okay. Game type 3 then. What happened for
Game
that?
type 3 was the Awfuls round.
Okay.
Where basically everybody had to ditch their loadout and pick up something, as the name suggests, goddamn awful. And as it had done in Anarchy 1, that went down an absolute storm. There was laughing, giggling,
Dancing,
all sorts going
singing.
on. Yeah.
I actually made a quick flanking maneuver and got about 4 kills from behind, and I laughed like a pixie afterwards. I can honestly say, sorry, go on, Darren.
No, go on, you carry on.
I was just going to say, I can honestly say of every game we played that day, I think I had the most fun during the Awfuls round. Bizarrely as it is, with a 60 FPS single shot blaster, I was having an absolute blast. It was just so much fun because you got people firing at you from 3 feet away, and the dart just goes, and
yeah,
you could then just be like, okay, bang.
Yeah, I think Big Al was.
He was on an uppercut, which is the single shot jolt, but there's no spring. You have to pump it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said on a few occasions he was literally 2 feet away from people and he'd still miss them.
Yeah, yeah. He took to hiding in a corner until someone went past, and then just going over and poking them with the end of the blaster with a dart in it.
The thing could get some range with it. It was just no accuracy.
It was range or accuracy, not both.
I think
we also have to comment and also include and mention the fact that obviously during all game plays and all through the day we have music playing as well.
I think the least we say about music, the better.
Music is probably the accurate term.
Good choices of music, old dance, club music, etc., until we get to the Awfuls round. And when we get to the Awfuls round, Ross, that sorts out all the playlists, goes a bit silly, shall we say.
A lot silly. Very silly.
The music choice, again, somewhat matches the game type name and is quite awful, but in a hilariously good way. And although, to be fair, on this one, we need to note the fact that it was awfully tamed down as well, because obviously we had small people.
Yes. I did subject myself to the psychological torture that was the Awfuls round music, and as somebody who studied audio engineering as a teenager, I genuinely thought the construction of it was fantastic. The content, on the other hand, there's no words to accurately reflect how I felt.
Music did you listen to?
It was.
I mean, it definitely flowed. I'll give it that, but it was
did.
just the
it was the one
like
that
complete.
It was the one that ended with the "Sill It Bang" tune. Yeah. All I'm going to say is, I'm kind of glad that as I get older, I'm losing my hearing. That's really,
There's no psychological torture like playing Nerf whilst listening to a happy hardcore version of the Animaniacs theme tune.
Yeah,
that one stuck in my head as particularly terrible, and I tried to get it out of my head for the last sort of week and a half, and it's
Or the slightly off key Indiana Jones tune. Or the Home and Away, yeah. And whatever the one that was just before the Silver Bang one, the sort of spacey type thing, which whatever one that was, it was just like it definitely felt that if you were it's something that basically very much hammers home the whole this is not a round type to be taken seriously. Just have fun. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. That was completely and utterly the idea of the Awfuls round, and it went off to a T.
Yeah.
Both
It was
times,
very
Anarchy
silly.
won. Anarchy won all the because obviously Anarchy 1 was 200 FPS, so there was a bit more seriousness involved. Game objectives, this, that, and the other. And again, got to the Awfuls round, flicker switch, all that disappeared. And it is all about poos and giggles.
It was very
Very
silly.
much so.
Very, very silly.
Yes. And
And
hopefully
to be
we'll
fair,
be
from a game organizer / ref, because myself and Susie did the refing from all the different rounds until later on in the day when we lost Big Al. So I stepped in to fill that gap. It's almost as enjoyable watching everyone absolutely basically clowning around with what are generally awful blasters. You could probably get more range and accuracy throwing them by hand.
Yeah, certainly what Al was using, I think he probably would have been better just throwing the darts.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I caught this on camera, but during the Awfuls round, there was an absolutely excellent moment that I witnessed. I sort of came around where the tower was, sort of towards the tunnel, and I looked to my left to where the sort of refs and the guys in the high vis jackets were stood. And I came around the corner and they were all just jiving away to the music. It was amazing.
I want to take a moment to mention Super Quaid because I had originally intended to make it, and to that extent had basically reached out to try and get my hands on Vortex magazines, to go with the Pyragon that Al gave me last year, and it sort of sat there in the box for about a year without getting touched. Reached out and wanted to get my hands on some Vortex magazines. They're Super Quaid just completely pulled a home run and sent me Praxis, like 10 magazines and about 200 of the discs. Just like next day delivery type thing. Okay. And it just arrived and I was so blown away by this. I just want to say thank you to Super Quaid for that. It's just unfortunate life got on the road. Otherwise, that would have been my running around. The Awfuls round was just the thing that inherently has no accuracy and is suppression by volume. You know.
To be fair, the next time I see you on this slight slide note, I've got about 60 discs here that we can give you as well, because God knows how we've come about having them, but they're absolutely useless to us because we don't have a single Vortex fireable blaster. So
we can solve that issue.
Yeah.
I think Adam's given me an entire loadout of every single Vortex blaster there is at some point. So yeah, I've also got them. Never fired one, but I've got some.
I like them because they're just light-hearted and fun. They're not meant to be incredibly serious. They're very much the whole inaccuracy and just have fun using them. So yes, on to game type of 4 was this one, maybe then?
Yeah, this was game type 4. We played 4 games of this, and it was a collector's game.
This was post lunch, post break as
yes,
well.
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah. If memory serves me right. I don't actually have one to hand, but basically delicately scattered around the arena. But I think
I've got one somewhere on my desk.
Producing one in a minute. Lady Nerfa distributed and carefully spread out. Anarchy, Fib Anarchy. There we go. There's one.
Yeah,
Adam's got that there.
And he's now dropped it, and we'll never find it again.
No, it's on my desk. I know where it is. It's under my keyboard.
Yeah, scattered all around the arena was numerous Fib Anarchy, glow in the dark, plastic, 3D printed plastic coins, and basically, as the game type suggests, it was go and collect them and put them in a bucket. We played 4 games of that altogether. This particular game type was when Orange Team won a round. Woo! And also coupled into that, the live counting boxes were put into reverse, and each team was given 20 lives. And basically, if you got tagged, back to the base, respawn, press the button, and it counted down 1. So it was basically how many you could collect before your team lives ran out, and whoever had
If memory serves,
points,
sorry, Darren, if memory serves, this was the one where everyone was just shoot people, and we'd got
Yeah. So
the
first
small
two
fast movers.
times it was the kids could pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second time it was Darren and
Ross.
Yeah. And it was kind of like my duck hunt where the nest isn't near spawn.
Yeah.
The target for the coins was by the flag, which is at the far end of the arena, and it's kind of it's not so much in no man's land because there is cover to get to it, but you've got to kind of risk yourself to get out of that cover or into the next piece of cover. But I've noticed
the bucket is open.
Yeah, I noticed you and Ross were very good at flicking them in from a distance.
Well, the only thing I will say is obviously we did 4 games in total. First 2 games, like you said, we used the young guns to run about and collect. The second 2 games, it was decided that me and Ross would do the collecting. The first game, yellow team won, and we got 16. Ross got 2.
I think Ross was playing that game as I'm going to go around and sneakily shoot people, and forgot that he was supposed to actually be playing the objective.
No, I think I caught him several times as he was on the throw.
He was
because he kept getting his hand out. I kept hitting his hand.
Yeah. Were you using the free runner for that one, Adam?
Maybe. I think I might have been on the free runner and the Mark II.
Yeah.
So he mentioned to me afterwards that yes, he was very much trying to collect, but was effectively, I think his words were, "I might as well be out here on my freaking own."
His team weren't playing the objective then, I'm guessing, in that case.
No, they weren't. So, but on the second game, when it was me and Ross, I think he'd had a word or two with the rest of his team, and that's the one where Orange team actually managed to win.
Just on the subject of the free runner, I totally haven't commissioned it's not a free runner, I've gone for a void runner from Ross in the meantime, because I have to toddle my death, and that's the only way I can do it is by throwing money at Ross.
You are single-handedly
keeping off.
I'm keeping FIB's lights on. Yeah, pretty much.
Just a quick one. I have a small child to deal with. I will be stepping out of camera for 3 minutes.
Not a problem. That's fine. Yeah, I genuinely... Adam, quick check, though. The token. Yes, retrieve the token. Let's see it on camera. I have to get one of those to go in front of the shield. I shall see if we can ask very politely about getting one of those.
That was in my dump pouch, so...
I'm sure FIB will give you one. I didn't realise you'd collected one. The amount of times I get home and I'll look in my dump pouch or I'll look in my belt, and there'll be a dart or a rival ball or something.
I know I picked 2 up and I know I put 1 in the thing, but I don't know whether I might have picked more up. I can't see anymore. But no, it really does glow as well.
Yeah, cool. The thing with the glowing, and there's something that I noticed quite to my dissatisfaction, I'll be quite honest. The UV lights are great unless you've got Coda magazines that you've dyed bright lime green, because or because that happens to your Coda mags. So for most of the games where it's pitch darkness and everyone's in black, everyone's being really super stealthy and super tactical, I'm there with my Griffin that's purple and green.
Hazard had exactly the same at Anarchy 1.
It's got a bright green glowing stick from the bottom of it. So everyone, if I go anywhere near one of the UV lights, can instantly see where I am and have a reasonable idea based on where the magazine is, where my face is.
You are, yes.
Yeah.
I
think 2 things that have never been in the same sentence as you are tactical and sneaky. That's
Yeah, that's fair. That's
yeah.
fair.
I think
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, don't
I
get me
was
wrong.
trying. It was dark.
Yeah,
I was.
you are immensely trying, mate. We have established this already. Okay,
Yeah, that's fair.
I have more grey hairs now from knowing you than ever before. You know.
You are welcome, my friend.
Now then, game type 5. Then where would that have been?
Game type 5 is where we ended the day on that particular game type. We just ran multiple rounds of it because everybody seemed to be enjoying themselves immensely. We did ask, I think, about halfway through or something, whether the people wanted to change to something else, but the general consensus was no, they were enjoying the game type. So carry on, which is basically our tag team game, where you're all in the spawn point. And at the time that was we're down to just Susie reffing at the time. I had joined yellow team at this point. Also after lunch, we also need to make a point as well that the teams had been moved about slightly to try and jig them up a bit.
We'd lost Big Al as well by that
We'd
point.
lost Big Al due to car trouble. So he wanted to set off earlier than the end of the day just to make sure they had plenty of time to get home, or if the worst happened and he had to call the RAC, or the AA, whichever I can't remember which one he said he was in. But anyway, he wasn't there all into the late hours of the night, early hours of the morning, waiting for them to turn up and get him home. So I joined in on that one, and as I say, it was tag team. So it was basically everyone in the spawn point. Susie would decide how many was going out, and that many people went out and played until they got tagged. They came back, pressed the death counter box, which again had been changed back to counting upwards, and somebody else would go out. So there'd only be, I think, the first round or first couple of rounds we did was only 2.
Yeah.
So you'd only have 2 players out at any time from each team, so 4 in total on the play arena. We did that a couple of times. Yellows won both rounds from either side, and I think the second time round,
3 onwards.
We sent 3 out each. And yeah, again, it's a very popular. It seems to be a very popular game type. People enjoy themselves. There was plenty of smiles on everyone's faces.
Let's have from
Apart from
yellow
the yellow
team
team on the first game, where we waited a full 5 or 6 minutes before anyone got to spawn out because Adam was out hogging the limelight with his free runner.
Yeah, that particular first round, that was the round where Adam was particularly on fire.
I took it was the Mark II. I went out with the Mark II, and I found at home it shoots high. So wherever I'm aiming, it's shooting high. So I accounted for that in the first game, and I was moving between the various pieces of cover because we were on the good side, in the bar side. And I just found that pistol with that amount of cover, given where they could try and come through at the Shark's Teeth, the tower and the gap to the castle, the Mark II was just perfect for me. I, like I said, didn't take a hit, moved around constantly. I jammed it, which meant I had to run back to the spawn going, I'm not out, pick up my protein. And then that still was really good. So yeah, I had an absolute blast on that too. But I did come back to the spawn at the end going, I'm sorry.
I thought you were using the free runner for that mode. I thought you had the... okay.
It was the Mark II and the protein, both were really good. And then was nowhere near as good on any of the other games. But Boneheed and me had a discussion of this on the way home from the event. I really liked the 1 in 1 out. Obviously, that first game was an amazing one for me. It's kind of like Hazard would say about his first campus HVZ experience. You're never going to get as good as that again. Because it really was perfect game where everything was just working right, where every shot was nearly perfectly on target. But I liked the thing because on the other games, there was times I went out and I was shot within 10 seconds back in. There was other times I was there and I was moving around getting good angles and out for maybe a minute to 2 minutes. So it was a nice blend of a lot of action and not much action, a lot of action, not much action. So, pardon me, for me it worked really well. But I know Boneheed on the way home wasn't as much of a fan.
No, I think that was probably the worst game type for me, and I think it was a little bit of... It was a combination of things. I don't think it's a bad game type inherently. I think for me, the issue was mostly fatigue. I'll be honest. I was knackered by that point.
Yeah, certainly by the last game, I was struggling.
Yeah, I was still feeling it yesterday, like 4 days later. But by that game, I was knackered. But I also... I didn't quite have a handle on the arena enough to be able to cover where I was likely to get shot from. So in that game, I was getting shot and not knowing where I was getting shot from. And I think on what Adam marked as the bad side, one big improvement I would make is knock through one of those areas with a window, so that you've got the low area that you can duck through, but also because it basically blocks off sort of 3/4 of that side of the end. The thing you can only get so far, and then you've got to go down the middle. And I found every time I went down the middle, I'd get tagged.
Caught. Yeah.
But that combined with the fact that I'm not a young man. My knees are knackered, my legs are knackered, my back's knackered. I'm just unfit. I was really feeling it by that point. So I think it was a little bit of grumpy old man syndrome, but also probably just not a game type for me, maybe. I don't know. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. You know, I wouldn't expect a GO to change that. But I think me and Adam had very different experiences there, just based purely on a couple of different
every game
factors.
type is not for everybody.
No.
So
we've mentioned
Which
this
is
before.
ironic, because it is the objective is essentially shoot the other
people.
person.
Yeah,
It's the one game type that you would have thought you would have had no issue with, but at the same point in time, we're all older people. We can all recognise that aches and pains do mount up. You know, your body cashes in checks and doesn't around.
Definitely cash checks I couldn't pay this time.
So
I think another thing
my legs are still sore.
I think there was I think it was Pro 2, the FTD Pro 2 one, where it was at the final game. The enthusiasm was still there, but the energy from everybody was just like, let's just walk, because we'd played ourselves well and we'd had a great time, but age catches up with us, you know, and you know, not all of us are like Ross, who can.
And you're all 18 months older for Pro 3.
Yeah. Thank you for that incredible vote of confidence there, Adam. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I know that. I agree with that sentiment, though, because I think we were very much the same for the last few games of Planetfall.
Yeah.
You know, where the N7 had planned a particular game type to finish off the day, but it was just so hot and so humid on that day that we ended up doing something different. I think that's very much the case. But one thing that I did also kind of want to touch on with this venue that I found particularly difficult is I found myself hesitating quite a lot, because earlier in the day I saw something move and I shot it, and it was one of my team. So I found it really difficult to determine who was on what team. And I think part of that was because it was dark, but also I think sometimes people had got their... I mean, I'd got my colour tag up on my goggles, so it was quite obvious I was on which team, but some people had got them on the belt, some people had got them, you know, in a place where it wasn't immediately obvious if you couldn't see whereabouts on the person that was. And I appreciate that's probably more a skill issue than anything wrong with the venue or the way the teams were set out, but I think the dark really affected me, because it's my first game where it's been like super, super dark. Even at the Eyeballs events, they are a fair bit lighter than this arena with the lights on.
Yeah.
With the lights off, sorry.
Shut up. Yeah, it is particularly dark when the lights go out in that arena. So yeah, I can understand that. Again, we three as a collective have had a chat, and there's potential things that we're going to try and put in place for a next one. But yeah, as I say, we learn as we go.
Yeah,
Obviously,
it's absolutely not a criticism, Darren. I think the way you did it was perfect. It's just me as a aging person. I wasn't able. I think sometimes as well, you learn what people are wearing and what people look like, and in that level of darkness, I couldn't tell you and Ross apart at a distance, for example. So I think that was a contributing factor to my lack of enjoyment of the last, or lowered enjoyment for the last game.
fair enough.
Nothing. So are we all covered with everything for that then? Do we want to move on to the next part of the discussion there?
Yeah, that's all the game types covered.
What I would say is Susie ran a really good set of games, and they were paced very fast. There was just enough downtime between each one to reload. There was a couple of times I didn't have a full set of mags reloaded, but that was fine. But the pacing was fast, but just enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anything, I'd slow it down ever so slightly, and I love fast-paced games, but
quick fire flocks. Yeah.
I thought it was about right. I mean, I did like the fact that we did a dart sweep after each game as well, because sometimes if you don't do that, you're just walking over and mashing darts up, and then they're useless. I think that was a good call to dart sweep every
It's
round.
a small enough venue that dart sweep is something.
It didn't take long.
Yeah,
literally, we were 4 minutes to do most dart sweeps.
And the other side of it is that by not giving you lots of time to reload, you will then, or potentially, players will start playing more conservatively, and making sure their shots count. Which sort of feeds back nicely into the whole full auto has a time and a place, but when you're on
at 2 meters is not the place.
No.
But also when you're playing on a limited amount of ammunition via prepared magazines, you don't want to go through all of them at once and then spend half the game sitting out. You pace yourself, which plays into the tactical feel of things there. So the next part of the conversation, I believe, was going to be a discussion about essentially comparing the two events, but focusing on the high and low FPS differences there. It's for anybody who follows the Discord coin or the coin Discord there, it has been quite a vocal topic. Who wants to open up that particular little can of worms in? And discussing the high.
I mean, I'll jump in to start off with. I mean, I wasn't at the first Anarchy, so I just want to get my kind of two penneth out and explain my justification for not doing the first Anarchy, as well as kind of pointing out that I feel a little bit vindicated having now been to the venue. My reservations were, I think it wasn't, looking at the pictures and the size of the place, I didn't think 200 was a good idea. To me, that would have been too close. It would have probably caused bruises and welts, and that's not why I nerf. I understand if people want to do that, if people are happy with that, and if people are comfortable taking 200 FPS shots at that range. For me, 130, possibly up to 1 joule with the right crowd, would be perfect for that venue. It's CQB at the end of the day, and CQB doesn't need super high FPS, in my opinion. And again, I appreciate people are going to disagree with that, but I think the balance there was perfect. I didn't come back with any bruises. The only shots that really hurt were when I took one to the earlobe and when I took one to the lip, but soft, fleshy areas.
I apologise for the earlobe.
You got me there, and Ross also got me there.
Got you,
So
was it with the hush?
It was with the hush, and it was right on the earlobe as well, so it couldn't have been a more soft, fleshy area that he hit me in. I think 130, like I say, 130 to 1 joule with the right crowd is perfect. Just because the minimum engagement distances, you don't feel bad at shooting anyone close range with that level of power. And a lot of the times, well, Ross literally put his blaster to my butt cheek and shot me with it. And I can still sit down. So that was my opinion on it. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to go to Anarchy 1. If you run more events at lower FPS, I will probably consider them, but I don't think I would want to go in that arena at 200. I just personally think that's too much. But yeah, that was my opinion anyway.
Darren?
You come in, Darren?
From the organizers side of things, obviously we did the 200 as a trial, and then we did, for two reasons, we did the 130 also for a trial. First reason was to allow younger players to come, and the second one was to see if there was a difference in gameplay. From my own personal experience, playing later on in the day and observing as whilst reffing, of the two, I much prefer Anarchy 2. The gameplay was so much more flowing, and the gameplay was so much more backwards and forwards, even with the unfortunate individuals on one side that weren't potentially objective following, which did factor some of the games. But again, it's still, and again, it could also be encompassed in with the fact that the Anarchy crew had taken on our feedback very well, and I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't have to, because they also have airsofters in there that do like it. And they could have said, well, our lot like it, so tough. And to a certain extent, there wouldn't have been a great deal more we could do about that. I mean, we would probably still had more events there. But no, they excellently and really nicely, they took it on, the feedback. They've made a few tweaks, and they even ran, they were telling me this that morning when we first got there, they even ran an airsoft event the night before to test the changes, to see how the game, how
and
their
said
game
the airsofters seemed to like it as well. So,
and the consensus was the airsofters liked the slight tweaks as well. So it was a good win all round. As I say, the 130 for me played so much better, so much more flowing. The engagements were a lot more backwards and forwards. There was less of the sitting right back and just taking the long power shots straight across the arena. And yeah, it was just a much better event, I think. We do have a couple of ideas for Anarchy 3, which we will go to later on when we get to that topic. But for me, yeah, I think, I can't say 100% definite, but I think 200 in there has had its day.
I can only sort of echo the opinion that would be, yeah, I'd have come along to it, but I really do think that like a 1 joule is probably like the most that you could push that to comfortably. But at the same point in time, you know, as we've discussed earlier on, there might well be a market for a 200 event again in the future if people wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to guarantee to run those frequently, because you've only got so much time to actually make available to run events. You have to make them successful. But if we can run enough events that we can get more players in, you might well find, well, let's do another 200 FPS somewhere down the road.
As I say, generally, 200 FPS, I'm not saying it's never going to happen again, but generally, you know, event after event.
It's not a priority for you.
It's, it will only be every, you know, once in a while, every now and then in between sort of thing. I think for the majority of events, as I said, 200 has had its day. We did it, we trialed it, we took away from it feedback, etc. We've done some tweaks. the arena has done some tweaks, and going forward, yeah, we think we know which direction we want to go in.
I think whichever choice you make, Darren, you're going to limit your audience, because there are certainly people within the hobby that have they have no interest in anything below 200. I know for a fact that for Ben, for example, he says, you know, he enjoys his 200 FPS. He doesn't have any interest in anything lower than that, and that's fine. I'm not judging anyone for that. If that's what you want to use, those are the toys you've paid your money for. Go for it. But at the same time, as I said earlier, I don't have any interest in doing 200 in CQB. That to me is it's going to be painful, and I'm not into nerfing for that. So, yeah.
Okay, so from my point of view, obviously I did Anarchy 1, I've done Anarchy 2. I did not enjoy Anarchy 1. I don't want to say it was because it was 200. I think that was a huge factor. I mean, part of it was the balance of the arena really put me off, which obviously they've now addressed. So I suspect there is scope now that the balance has been improved, that 200 will work. I still think it's overkill in there, and I really enjoyed the 130. Every one of those games we won as a yellow team could have gone the other way in a second. There was some where I think there was one of the collection ones where it was literally the kids both going down at the same time, and one was just half a meter ahead. So could have gone either way. I totally agree with Darren's back and forth. It felt quite swingy at times, but it could have gone either way, and no part of the arena felt totally in control of one team. Playing from the good side, I felt like I could get to the cross or the edge of a tower of a shark's teeth and look into the carpet area. Don't know what we're going to call that other than the carpet area. But from the other side, I could get to the cross and the castle and to the bar and still be able to shoot. It felt like there was a lot more movement, which obviously I like as a player. I've always said I like 130 FPS and CQB, so for me it was just like the perfect thing. One Jewel, again, like Boneheed says, with the right crowd, people who are okay with taking a slightly more painful hit or getting hit a bit closer with something more powerful would be fine. The problematic players, I wouldn't want to play there at One Jewel with.
Which is why I say the right crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The older end of the spectrum and not the problematic ones.
Yeah. One thing I hadn't quite appreciated, and this came about yesterday, this morning, looking for the Pico Blast footage.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got myself into this thing of the engagement distances at Unit 26 were much longer. They're not. They're about the same as this. I think the only real difference is it's that darkness. You never know when you're going to get shot, so it's a bit more of a shock, which I think it plays into that. Getting hit 200, it stings a lot more. You're not expecting it because you can't see it coming, so it hurts a bit more. I don't think you should rule out 200. But if you feel 130 is better, I'll be there. As long as Green Hornet will give me a lift, I'll be there because
same.
I really did enjoy that event. My legs didn't.
Yeah. Just to jump in there, I would agree with that. I think the big obstacle for me with Anarchy, apart from the FPS cap, if it's a One Jewel 130 event, I would absolutely love to attend. The problem is I cannot. I can get there on my own, but using public transport, it's going to be. I might as well stay in Blackpool overnight to do so. So it's all going to be about timing and whether other people are going that can give me a lift. So if I don't attend future events, it may not necessarily be because I don't want to. It's because I can't, and I physically can't get there. Yeah.
But I would very happily attend if I can, if it's 1:30 or 1 till.
It's a very nice arena. It really is.
Or a minor tech issue for a second there. No, that's fine.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good. No, I certainly look forward to getting whatever footage that you've got, Boneheed.
If you could see anything. So what happened was I had one of my enduro batteries in my little bit technical sort of tangent here. Mm-hmm. One of the enduro batteries that I use in my GoPro will only charge in my GoPro. The other two batteries I've got will charge in the docking station. One of them will only charge in the GoPro. I foolishly left that one in the GoPro. It's discharged itself entirely, and all the settings on the GoPro have gone back to default mode. And I don't think I checked that before I went in. So I don't know if I was in 50 hertz. I don't know if I was in low light mode. I think it's just standard GoPro 4K 60 hertz stuff.
It's going to be dark.
So it might be dark.
Yeah. So, there might well be footage from this event. And there might well not be footage from this event.
We'll get the first event at least because the lights were on.
Yeah. Or we'll see what we can do with some sort of post-event editing with it. But at the end of the day, the videos that they produce, for the channel, they're not blockbusters. They're meant to be, footage that just shows off the event. And
we are home of the most free content on YouTube.
We are indeed. Yes, we are. And the most whiteless content on YouTube as well.
Especially after eyeballs and merch. Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So
the most amateur.
You know what you two can get for your Secret Santas for this year? A torch for the front ear blaster.
No, you can't even see it. It's meant to be on a blaster. I use it as a torch too much.
Yeah, I've got something similar. Yeah.
I think the two torches that Sarah and I have got for our ones would be a little bit overkill in that one. So I think we might have to definitely invest in
that is probably one thing to discuss from the gear point of view is none of us ran torches on our blasters for this one, even though the lights were off for pretty much every game. Whereas at the 200, a lot of people had torches, including myself.
The airsofters seem to do it as well.
Yeah. I know, like Bendy's got this red filter on his one, and it's very much just a sort of push to turn on. It's not a click; it's a push to, it's a hold to activate one on his milsig, and that's the sort of thing that I would be looking to have, something that doesn't clearly light you up all the time so everybody knows where you are, but something that where you can, because guaranteed bet, but considering that Blue managed to query break toes,
that wasn't because it was dark. He did that in the first game when the lights were on. He was being too over exuberant with running in to grab a token.
You're all aware of my health and safety track record here, so
there aren't any stairs, David. You can't fall over.
There are stairs.
There are stairs, and there's a slippery floor.
To fall over at one of Adam's events. I just like to fall over on a flat piece of ground. I'm just like,
look, yes. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. All right.
Why?
You'd have to gear up downstairs. We'd have to set something up in the bar for you to gear up.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, I managed to bang my head going up the slide onto the bar. So David would be lethal. You break your spine.
Yeah. So that's that. Now, anything else essentially of note? Because I think we've more or less covered the entire topic pretty well. Thank you very much for that. Anything to say? Because I know one of the things I do want to get is a chance for Darren to talk about things in the future. What's next there? Adam, a little bit of a promo thing for the events that you're going to be running soon enough there, okay? But anything for Anarchy 2 before we move on to other business there?
I think we've, from my point of view, I think we've pretty much covered and gone over everything.
You two?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Other than obviously the known people, it was a good crowd. Really good to play with Blue and Ember. Ember is just an absolute mean badass, and I can't wait to play with games with her.
She's a force of nature, really, isn't she?
Especially when she's got a BK. I turned the corner, the BK was there, and it's like, yeah, I'm taking my tag. You don't even need to shoot me. She then shot me. So, we've obviously been Boneheed have played, and Darren have played with her at Grim Up North as well, and she's just brilliant. I'm really glad that she enjoyed it. I'm gutted that Al had to leave early, especially because obviously the full auto put some of his gear out of action. He jammed the Omniator, then he switched to the Outlaw, and I think his grin was like up here because it's like, oh, I'm getting to use this. Obviously, we've touched on Green Hornet just being an absolute demon with the Nightingale. I found he just kept appearing out of the castle and putting 2 rounds into me every time I was anywhere near him.
He did that to me several times. Yeah.
But yeah, the crowd was great. Obviously, the Fib kids were all there. Josh was playing, Paige was playing, Mia came down for a bit, and Logan. Logan, bless him, is just brilliant. I wish my 9-year-old was as good as he is.
Logan nailed me with a couple of absolute belters during the Awfuls round, and I spoke to him afterwards. I was like, mate, you got me some absolute blinding shots. Well done. For a 9-year-old, yeah, he was brilliant.
Yes, credit to Susie and Darren, his other kids.
So, do you think I can, pass my niece across them?
Yes, you
yeah.
They might teach us something.
Aye, because, no.
I mean, it was definitely a shame to lose Al.
Enough for me,
Sorry, yeah.
To lose Al.
It was definitely a shame to lose Al. Myself and Al, and I'm sure he'll agree with this, every game that me and Al are both playing at, we have a nasty habit of always finding each other and trading kills. Like, he'll shoot me, I'll shoot him at the same time, and we trade. It happens. It's happened at numerous Dishforth events. And this one was no different. Me and Al were trading kills left, right, and centre. Mostly in the Awfuls round. But yeah, it was.
You're the 2 times he shot somebody.
Yes, yeah. I was Al's 2 kills because he'd snuck up behind me because I'm not exactly stealthy. So yeah.
Okay then. So Darren, for Anarchy 3 and onwards, on you go there.
Right. Well, Anarchy 3 is in talks. We're just dependent on Lisa coming back, confirming a couple of dates. Also, there's some behind the scenes things going on at the moment with Anarchy that we're waiting for them to resolve and then get back to us on dates. So hopefully there's going to be an Anarchy 3 potentially this month, but it'll be right at the back end of this month. We're not sure yet, or if depending on when we get any word back, it might be into the beginning of May. We are going to potentially run 1 duel this time, and experiment with that. So without any, because obviously 1 duel for slightly different weight of darts. Basically, we're going with the idea of 145 FPS. So we're going to go and experiment on that, see how that runs. That way, we've pretty much covered the 3 main aspects. You've got the lower end with the 130. You've got sort of like the mid, what's being dubbed as the norm, 1 duel, and we've also had the high then, and we can put notes together and then come with a plan of, right, which one do we want to predominantly go forward with.
Totally makes sense.
We will potentially still open it up to younger players. Obviously, we will make it absolutely crystal that We are running slightly hotter this time, so some shots might be a bit ouchy. We'll see how that goes. We'll suck it and see it, as it were. There will be playing rules in place, as in what you can use, what you can't use, and it'll be very clearly communicated on the day at the beginning that there will be a very clear, cut, concise 3-strike rule, and everybody, even my kids, if they attend again, depending if they're able to, because I know Paige and Josh have got a school trip each coming up. One's in France, they get more holidays abroad than I do. So they may or may not be available for the next one, but the point is the same rules will apply to them as well. If they have to be pulled to one side, they'll have the same 3 strikes as anybody else. I'll make that absolutely crystal clear at the beginning, and hopefully, touch wood, there'll not need to be any. But if I have to use all 3, I will be sending people home.
Adam, you want to give a quick wee promo to the events that
Yep.
you're running just now?
Yep. After that, in May 10th, on my birthday, we have Eyeballs 4, which is at the iCombat Laser Quest site in Leeds, which is a multi-floor indoor CQB site, very dark, UV lights, similar to Anarchy, but obviously the big selling point is it's 2 floors, very steep ramps between floors.
One of which can be seen behind your head right now.
Yes. That is the centre of arena, centre ramp,
Yep.
car off to thing. I really enjoy the iCombat venue. We've yet to figure out the best spawn points, even on free visits, but we all have such fun there because it's a unique
arena, great fun.
It's a unique venue because you don't often get multi-story in an open area like that.
My monolith yearns for this event, and it is ready to go.
So that is rivals only and 2 grenades per round. I've been trying to maintain a kind of momentum of running events, and I just keep ending up in a peak and a trough of peaking when I'm running an event, trough when afterwards. So I kind of have to create another event to run to kind of get myself out of it. I'm going to get myself out of that vicious cycle by stopping running events. Though, like I say, there may be another Nerf Mania. Now the site is in new ownership. The last thing I want to say is there any scope for cap grenades at Anarchy?
Oh, not really thought about that.
I discussed it with the owner who was there when we went on the Anarchy 1, and he seemed to suggest we would be able to use them. I don't think we should allow more than maybe 1. And
yeah,
I'm
low numbers, because otherwise
I'm well known for not liking 1 grenade because you get analysis paralysis of when to throw it. The only reason I ask is there are a couple of times when Ross was by the tower when a little sneaky grenade throw would have just cleared him out and let the team push round.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think grenades would have made that a very different game.
But I wouldn't want many of them. Like I say, 1 is probably the most I'd want. 2 maybe, but if we were at a higher dual level.
Okay.
But it's one of those things, if there's any scope, I'll bring some with me next time, even if we may not say we want to use them. So.
Okay.
There we are. I think we've rather nicely timed that. About 90 minutes worth of recording time. Thank you so very much.
We've not mentioned trees yet.
That's because there weren't any. It was just the product of trees.
We need a tree count. Damn it. We need some outtakes too. So, yeah. So let's make David's eye twitch for the last sort of 25 minutes. Incidentally, I'm currently in an argument with someone on Facebook that thinks that the Maxim Pro was a bad blaster, but yeah. And his site was, oh, I've got 2,000 subs on YouTube, bro. You may not know who I am, but I've got 2,000 subs on YouTube. I'm like, if you have to say, don't you know who I am, you've already lost the argument. Yeah,
He probably never plays.
No, oh no, he's a pro player, and his experience of the Maxim dropping magazines out is, I've played several games with the Maxim, but I've never done a formal review of one. And he's like, oh yeah, it won't take Tatches, it won't take coders, it won't take the curved talons from Seagull.
They're wide.
Mags. You nerf you.
Well, no, it will. It absolutely will. Mine does. Mine catches. What it won't. And the argument started on the back of a Strifex conversation. My argument was, my Maxim will take all three of those. My Strifex will take the Tachi. It'll take the Coda. It will take the Worker Talon, but you have to proper insert it with. Yeah.
I love my Seagull mags. They look so nice in everything. They're just so tight in everything, other than the Seagull.
The only thing I've struggled with those mags in is. I tell you what, when we jump in just now, okay, when we jump in just now and draw the episode to a close formally, and then what we can do.
Sorry, we were getting too much content.
Yeah, we were adding content to the most content-free content on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost as if you go out of your way to find a way to derail every recording that we ever do.
Is that not why you invite me to these calls? Yeah, I missed that memo.
Yeah, okay, right, yes. So, that's on me. Fair enough. That's entirely on me. Right. So, with that,
technical difficulties. Cut to black. David, go.
No, I'm just going to include that. Just going to include that, okay? Right, so with this, I would like to say thank you to everybody for joining me for episode 12. This has been Tartan Skirmish, discussing Anarchy 2, and we will see you for episode 13, which will be...
Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell. So, with that, whatever. I'm not re-recording it. Who cares? Nobody watches this place anyway. Right, so with that, good night.